Hi dear audience, hope you would be fine. Today we would be discussing Kubla Khan, a poem by S.T. Coleridge. That's a very beautiful poem and that's considered as the best poem of Coleridge as well, from the perspective of description of the nature, that as he has caricatured the nature in this poem, is that the masterpiece and definitely a representative poem of the romantic tendency as well, romantic attitude as well. The romantic poets have been describing the nature, and they have been more like synthesizing beauty of nature in their poetry. So Coleridge has beautifully and artistically instrumented the poetry in this poem, instrumented the nature in this poem. So first is the introduction of this poem, and then we would be discussing its rhyme schemes, some major themes, and then some questions as well. Kubla Khan was written in 1797, means just before the publication of the lyrical ballads, which was in 1798. It was influenced by the visions of the Coleridge had from his taking opium. It is it is myth. We have been never to the opium, but it is said that when once means the addicted takes the opium, he feels different visions, means hallucination. They might be of opium might be the source of escape. Definitely, if one is in too much chaos, worries, tragedies, and he takes opium, so he forgets all these natural, harsh realities, and he takes himself into some other world. That word might be away. That word might not be knowing the reality and the harshness of this word. That might be the freshening one, like heavenly bodies, heavenly objects, or however, where there are the beauties unbounded, freedom unchained, like this one. But he was sleeping when he wrote this poem, and he was visioning that vision, and someone, I'm not sure, and no one is not sure that whether he had taken opium at that time or not. But the poem starts out with an Emperor Kubla Khan in his palace in Xanadu. Xanadu is visionary, imaginary place, and this Kubla Khan king is also an imaginary character. Means Xanadu and Kubla Khan have no resemblance there on this earth, and neither their palace has resemblance on this world. The narrator then talks about the beauty of the land and the Alpha River that flows through the land. Alpha River is a very sacred river, and he talks about Kubla Khan's thoughts of the war while listening to the river flow violently through the canyon. Now these are the very interesting things, that a river was a sacred river. Kubla Khan was living in the palace, and he was living in the Xanadu, and how, as he describes the beauties of that Kubla Khan, of that in the poem Kubla Khan, as he caricatures the beauties of that palace. It seems that that was an ideal place, but what's the tragic, that even in that palace, in spite of having such beauties, he was talking or planning some wars. So both beauties, power, war have been very in the instinct of the man. It is said that man always plan a war in happy times, and when he is in the war, he always plans for peace. Shortly after he switches gears and talks about another vision he had about a lady who was singing and playing an instrument. He talks about how her singing made him had feeling to sing in his vision as well. The narrator's songs help him create the land of Xanadu in his vision. Towards the end of the vision, the narrator sees a poem, a man with flashing eyes, which is supposed to be the Kubla Khan himself. So this is the text. In Xanadu did Kubla Khan a stately player doom decree. Later on we would be talking about this rhyme scheme as well. For example, dooms, decree. So this is the repetition of the same sound, da da, da doom, decree. So this poem is a very rich example of literary devices as well. For example, even in the very first line, Xanadu did mayerless to man, like the sunless sea. So there are rich repetition, alliteration, consonants as well. We would be discussing it later on. So in Xanadu, Kubla Khan, that was a stately player, and where Alpha means the sacred river ran through the caverns mirrorless to man, means that this is basically a vision. It's not a real place, it is a visionary place. So definitely man cannot mirror the vision. So mirrorless to the man, down to the sunless sea, means that sea was such deep in itself that even the sun could not reach to that. To twice 5 miles of fertile ground. See this, how he has used, means 5 miles and then twice 5 miles means 10 miles. How he has used the technically the device. Otherwise he can use the as the 10 miles of the fertile, but to make it more impressive, more apostrophic, he is using the word twice 5 miles of fertile, but the 5 is going to conjoin or join the word far fertile, 5 fertile. So this makes consonants as well, because they are the consonants and they are having the same sounds. And with walls and the towers were the gilded round, and there were gardens bright with sinuous rills. Where means there were the garden, but sinuous rills means that beauty was such exceeding, that was considered the very beauty. Sinuous beauty means violent beauty. Gardens were such beautiful that they seems very violent one. I have been to different places in the world as well, and some places have been such very beautiful to us that we were unable to see those things, as everything of that scene is so much fantastic that that becomes some situation of dissociation. Means such beauty is there when we are unable to see that beauty, so that beauty becomes a sensuous beauty, sinuous beauty, where blossomed many an incense bearing tree. Incense means fragrant bearing trees. Even if you are going to read this poem, you can imagine how much heavenly that scene might be. Means trees are there. Every one of us have the experience of this blossomed incense bearing trees. Even if there are the trees which do not give the fragrance, but if early in the morning you pass through those trees, by the morning dew on the leaves of those plants, there comes a special fragrance. Even I'm talking about the normal trees, But when those trees were of incense bearing and they were fully blossomed, you can imagine, even right now I can imagine the how it would be good to see and good to listen, or to good to wander in that situation. And here were forests ancient as the hills, and you know, the ancient hills make it more magnificent. Naturally, whenever we go to any museum or somewhere, or something that is more of 1,000 years and 2,000 years, 5,000 years, that becomes more ancient and more valuable. So there were the forest who were in that were the ancient hills and enfolding sunny spots of greenery. That's very interesting. Means there were some patches of from where in the forest among those forests some patches of sun was coming on the ground, and now that was more like a carpet of shadow and sun. You might can imagine, like you know, as different bulb throws their different lights, so that was like shadow shadow and sun, shadow and sun, as the sun was coming through the leaves of the forestry trees. So enfolding sunny spots of greenery. And more interestingly is that the down side of the of those forests, means on the earth there were the greenery. Now you would be imagining, keep the three things in your mind. There the surface was greenery, and on that surface there was, on the one side was the on some particular spaces there was the shadow, and on particular places it was the sun. So sun might have been you know, as to create the effect, we use different lights, so that different in romantic chasm was being created by that. But oh, that deep romantic chasm which slanted down the green hill athwards a cedar's cover. He says that that charming scene was like as it is covered by some, you know, by a sheet, covered by a sheet of some particular coverlets from the top. A savage place as holy and enchanted. This is very interesting. A savage place. About this I have talked already, that beauty was so excellent that it seems a savage place. It was, and as holy as enchanted. At the same time, it seems so much enchanted, but it was, as you know, that excess of everything is bad. So that beauty was such holy and enchanting that it seems a savage place. Therefore, you know, there you might have been some green graves of the saints where we used to go as well, to visit those places. But see, some places are so saintly, so lovely, that man feels confused. So same was the case with this one. As ever beneath a waning moon was haunted, means like a moon, as when moon in its beauteous form haunts its viewers, same was the case with that. By woman wailing for her demon lover, and on that there was standing a woman who was mourning for her cruel lover. Demon lover means the untruthful lover, means who has left her, And from this chasm with ceaseless turmoil seething, as if this earth is fast, thick pants were breathing. And this is interesting, means he says that as earth was humping, pants were breathing, means as earth takes breath, a mighty fountain momentarily was forced, means there was a fountain from that birth of the, as we take breath, then particularly some smoke of our moisture in our particular in the winter season comes out of our mouth. So when we take inside our breath, then it does not come, and when we put out, then like it's not smoke, it's not like that breath with droplets of water, and it seems like a smoke coming out of our mouth, in particularly in the winter season. So he says that like this earth was panting and from breathing, and from that a forced fountain was coming out of that, amid whose swift half intermed burst huge fragments vaulted like rebounding hail, or sheffy grain beneath the thresher's flail. Means as threshers, there comes the flail, that it comes when we harvest the wheat in the threshing process, then as that straw stuff comes out of the flail of the thresher, so it was coming like that, and it was with the huge fragments. Fragments means it was having more some little rivulets, like the veins. There was a fountain, and then there was from that fountain there was have been forming a stream, and from that stream there have been coming out more a little like rivulets. So they were very charming. It flung up momentarily the sacred river, and they are coming from that sacred river, means even the water seems more sacred. 5 miles meandering with a mazy motion, and that rivers moves 5 miles with mazy motion, like this and this and that. So you can see the repetition as well, alliteration as well. For example, meandering, mazy motion, a river ran. This is the word river ran is going to the example of Synaptoch, consonants. So through wood and dale the sacred river ran, then reached the caverns mirrorless to man. And by moving 5 miles in that palace, that river moves to where the mirrorless to man, means it was fall into such a place that where men cannot reach. This is it makes the poem as the visionary poem, where only the vision of the poet can go, not the man cannot go. And sank in the tumult to a lifeless ocean, means that ocean seems to be the lifeless. And midst this tumult Kubla Khan heard far from far ancestral voices prophesizing war. Out of these glorious sounds, means the sound of rivers, sound of fragrance of trees, from all these such a charming scenes, he means Kubla Khan listened the voices of the ancestors' voices who were prophesying war. Means it was such beautiful, as we all have, whenever any one of us make progress, and then his relatives or other some jealous people start questioning So it's also said and used as a strategy that if you are too much happy, then do not show the other to be happy. So here it is confusion that whether his means the ancestral voices, means the voice of their his forefathers, was Kubla Khan the product of those wars that his ancestors have fought those wars, and therefore he was having such a luxuriant place. The one interpretation of this is that. The other interpretation is that they were alarming him of the upcoming war, that if, oh Kubla, if you are on such a living in a such a stately and gorgeous situation, then there might be some pending danger on you. So as we were talking about that romantic poets except Wordsworth have been talking about the worst aspect of the nature as well, means as excessive negative effects of the beauty as well. Therefore there might be the one interpretation of this line, the ancestral voices prophesizing war. Prophecy means which is the things which is going to be happen in the future. So one thing example is of this is that that war has not happened, but that is going to happen. So therefore their ancestral voices are prophesying about war. That's the dangerous one. The shadows of the doom of player, and if we later on be talking on that as well, out of those all these beautiful places, the only four words, ancestral voices prophesizing war, that's very alarming as well. That's paradoxical as well. That's the major theme of the poem as well. So the shadows of the doom of player floated midday to the waves, where was heard the mingled myres from fountains and the caves, the miracles of the rear device. This rear device is very interesting. As we know, right now we have for example, we have prison from where we make different colors. There are voice changer devices from where we can make a lot of our voices as well. And from all these mingled mire and fountain and the caves, there comes to be a sound, and that seems to be a miracle of some rear device. For your understanding, I would make you clear that in modern science it has very real devices. For example, even our mobile phone is some sort of a real device. It is giving our voice, it is giving our picture, it is receiving, sending everything. Even though I use mobile since some 20 years, but still it seems the real device to me and you as well. A sunny player doomed with caves of ice, and in that there was the cave of ice as well. But oh, that deep romantic chasm which slanted down the green hill toward a cedarn cover, a savage place as holy and enchanted. I think made it dual. Yes. A damsel with a dulcimer in a vision once I saw. It was an Abyssinian maid, and on her dulcimer she played. Means there was standing a woman. She was playing with that dulcimer instrument, and in a vision once I saw. He says that I saw such a woman in Abyssinian maid. Abyssinian maid, they are considered as a a symbol of beauty. Therefore he says that she played and singing of Mount Abora. So this Mount Abora is also imaginary and metaphor. Mount Abora is used as a symbol of beauty. So therefore he refers it to a historical context. Could I revive within me her symphony and song? He takes care stress on his mind to recognize, revive that symphony and song, as words were used to listen of that of the daffodils. To such deep delight it would win me, that she was singing with such beauty that it can win my heart. That with music loud and long, that's very interesting. See the repetition, loud and long, I would build that doom in the air. He says that similarly, I wish to, as I that was the constructed one, but in vision, as that Kubla Khan Xanadu is not a real place on this world. That was a vision of the poet. So he says that, but that whatever he has vision in his mind, that was so much beautiful that he says that I would build that dome in the air one day. And all that I should, and all who heard see them there, and all should cry, beware, beware. Means they were talking of the beauty. His flashing eyes, his floating hairs, about that of the dulcimer, wave a circle round them thrice, a closer your eyes with holy dread, for he on the honey dew hath fed and drunk the milk of paradise. He says that beware of his beauty, means that sunny dome where it has been, where that woman was singing, where that Xanadu place was running, where such a sunny dome was there, those caves of ice. And he says, and all who heard should see them there, and all should cry, beware, beware. Means do not be like do not be like in that, do not be like in that. His flashing eyes, his floating hair, wave a circle round him thrice. This flashing eyes refers to Kubla Khan. His floating hairs means then suddenly Kubla Khan appears on the scene, and his eyes were flashing, and his hair were floating, and wave a circle round him thrice, and he makes for 3 times on his both sides, and close your eyes with his holy dread. That's very interesting. That he, and close your eyes means, whenever you see something very of very exceptional nature, whether exceptional, that is if it is holy as well. I was listening an interview in which that actor or the actress, she said that there was one of my fan, and when I just came out of my car, that fan turned his face from me and start weeping, and he said that I cannot see my favorite actress in front of my eyes. So he says that caricature of Kubla Khan was so holy and dread. That's paradox, holy and as well as the dread. So therefore he closed his eyes. For he on his honeydew has fed. Honeydew, we could call it as Manusalva, which has been brought from the heaven. Means he has been fed upon honeydew, and he has drunk the milk of paradise. Kubla Khan was not used to be a common man, as he might be. Even right now, if you see that Joe Biden as the president of America, whenever we would be thinking, it means we would be taking that Joe Biden is not a common man, as he is the selected by the best people of the world. I'm not speaking about in that term that Americans are the best or the worst. means definitely if we all wish to be consider America as a superpower, and how great would be that who is the president of that nation. So definitely he was like that, therefore he closes his eyes. But here, as we know that he has been using this drunk milk of paradise with the sense of opium. So honey dew means this is also relevant to the opium. With the here the poem ends, but he says that beware of Kubla Khan. In where there was such beauties in his palace, there was some even a woman who was wailing, who was there was a woman, and she was wailing for her demon lovers. There were the women who were mistrusted, who were defeated by their lovers. Means though that was seems a perfect land, but still there are dreadliness, still there are the untrustworthiness, and still there are the dangers, and there are the prophecies of the war. So this word is both mixture of good and bad. The major themes of this poem are the nature's beauty, as I have talked about, nature's violence as well as I have talked about, then consciousness of the human mind, that man should be conscious everywhere, and then the imagination, how he has imagined the beautiful world. If we talk about the poetic structure of this poem, it has 4 stanzas and they are written in iambic tetrameters. Rhyme scheme of the stanzas is like this. A B means the first A, and then B second does not resemble, then A means first line, third line and the fourth line are the same one, and then second line and the fifth line are the same one, and then sixth and seventh line are the same one, and then D E D E. This is the rhyme scheme of the first stanza. Of the second stanza it is like this. I would be read A B A B C C D D F F, then G G H I H J J. And of the third stanza is A B C C. It vary from stanza to stanza. And of the fourth stanza it's like this: A B C C B D E D E F G F F F G H H G. You understand already if how the rhyme scheme is made. For example, if the first and the second one is the same one, then it would be rhymed as A. And if from where your rhyme scheme pattern varies, that is charged as the next alphabet. And it is an incomplete poem within 54 lines because Coleridge was interrupted, means he was sleeping. Therefore I am not sure that he was sleeping without opium or just he has taken opium and was sleeping while he was writing, and out of that sleep he came out. He visioned that this Kubla Khan in his brain, and then he was start writing, and when he was at the line of 54, someone just knocked his house, and then he came back to write, but he could not write that. He was writing, so he could not recollect the other visions he had in his dream. But suddenly someone came on his house. He knocked. Coleridge went to him, but when he came back, he could not continue this poem. Therefore, it is his incomplete poem. Then there is a question that who is the speaker in this poem? The speaker in this poem is anonymous, means is not known to us. And then Kubla Khan, the name of the person who is the owner of this palace is also mysterious one. We cannot say that Kubla Khan is going to describe. So the speaker in this poem is anonymous, means not known to us. And what are the main poetic devices used by Coleridge in this poem? Similes are there, a lot of similes are there. Similism, literary device in which we make the comparison between two different things, the action or the feelings. For example, one of that I have used over here. As if this earth is fast, thick pants were breathing. The word as is the best example of simile. The literary device personification means that when we use some abstract or animal idea which is inanimate, and we represent that as it is a human, it is working, it is walking. For example, that sunny doom, those caves of ice, sunny doom seems to be object, concrete. Dooms usually refers to the graveyards like this. So as there is a grave of a man, sunny doom. And if this earth is fast, thick parts were breathing, means earth does not pants like we do, as like this. How we do like this. When we run out, then we pants in our breathing. So earth does not breathe like this, breath like this. So this is the example of personification. And then there are a lot of metaphors have been used. In metaphor we use some idea, we exemplify that animal, object or idea with some other one which share the common qualities. So the river, here is the metaphor in this poem. Light and water are the two ancient metaphors of human thought. Light, flash an idea, it is the light. And then water, as water is in the form of sea, is our fundamental metaphor for the unconscious mind. Means it refers to our brain seems to be a sea, and that is a deepless sea. And similarly our soul, it also refers to our soul. Singing of Mount Abora and the drunk of milk of paradise, these are also the metaphors. Then there is the Synaptoch, means in which something is referred indirectly by naming only some parts of it are the constituent of it. For example, if we use the word hands for manual labors, and for example the law means the police officer, we use the one word for all the other. Indirectly, for example, we use the word army. Even army, though army means soldiers who are the persons, for them we use the word army, not directly we refer to that. Law means for the police officer. For example, we say the law enforcing agency. So indirectly we are referring to that. For example, here he used the word a mighty fountain momentarily was forced. So it might have been simply that a fountain was coming out, but he was using it mighty momentarily was force means coming out. Assonance is the repetition of the stress syllables. For example, the deep delight, a stately player dooms stickery. So these are the assonance. Sorry, there are two. You have to keep in mind that if there is a repetition of vowel sounds, then it would be the assonance, and if it is the repetition of the consonants, then it would be consonants. Like from the fountain, fa sound, it is the example of consonants. And here doom, like this, deep delight, so dub e in deep, the word A, and in delight E. This is the means repetition of vowels, therefore it is over here. And then consonants are there, the repetition of identical sounds are there. They might be the vowels instead of the consonant vowels. So from the fountain, so the word fa repetition, it's the consonants. In consonants we have the similar identical neighboring words sounds whose vowel sounds are different. And apostrophe, in apostrophe we are referring to something who is not present at the moment. For example, he is addressing beware, beware, but it's not sure to whom he is addressing, to whom he is saying to be aware. Means that addressee is not at the moment. Alliteration means repetition of the same sound, initial rhyme, sympathy and song. Sympathy and song is the best word of this. And if we talk about the paradoxes of the meaning, that one idea is that the meaning comes out of their negatives. So how we would be knowing the beauty of all these are vision of the beauty of one thing from the definitely we would be coming the idea from out of its other one. So holy has its paradox of the dead and dread. Here are some of example which I have extracted. In a vision once I saw. So how it can be, vision is something else, and seeing, definitely we cannot see the vision. That's the best example of paradox. I would build that dome in air. Are the building constructed in the air? Never. So these are the example of paradoxes. And the drunk the milk of paradise, that's very interesting. Means milk of paradise is going to be served even in the in life. That's very interesting as well. So these are the example of paradox of the meaning. If you have any questions regarding this, you can ask in the comment section. We would be happily to answer those questions. With this, goodbye. Thank you.